January 26, 1945, Holtzwihr, Alsace, France. Snow covers the open fields outside the village of Holtzwihr. The battle has already been going on for hours. German infantry from the 2nd Mountain Division are advancing across the ground, supported by machine gun and mortar fire. American positions are breaking under the pressure. Near the edge of a forest, an American M10 tank destroyer burns. The crew is gone. Smoke drifts low across the snow. Close to the wreck stands 2nd Lieutenant Audie Murphy, 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division. He has been hit by German fire, multiple wounds, blood soaking into his winter uniform. His radio operator is dead. His men are pulling back. Murphy refuses to withdraw. Instead, he climbs onto the burning tank destroyer, takes control of its .50 caliber machine gun, and fires directly at the advancing Germans. At the same time, he calls American artillery onto his own position. The order is clear. Hold this ground. Stop the German attack. Everything that follows will depend on whether he can stay there long enough. The war situation. By January 1945, the war in Western Europe had entered a brutal winter phase. Just weeks earlier, Germany had launched its last major offensive in the West, the Battle of the Bulge. Although the attack ultimately failed, it slowed the Allied advance and left both sides exhausted. When the front stabilized, fighting shifted south into Alsace near the French-German border. Here, the Germans were determined not to lose ground. Hitler ordered a new counteroffensive, Operation Nordwind, aimed at breaking American lines and retaking territory along the Rhine. German units, many experienced and battle-hardened, were thrown into the attack despite shortages of fuel, armor, and air support. One of the key areas was the Holtzwihr pocket, a section of land still held by German forces deep inside liberated France. If the Germans could push outward from this pocket, they could threaten Allied supply lines and delay the invasion of Germany itself. The responsibility for stopping this advance fell to the U.S. 3rd Infantry Division, one of the most experienced American units in the war. Its soldiers were cold, tired, and under strength, but they were ordered to hold their positions at all costs. Among them was the 15th Infantry Regiment, defending ground near the small village of Holtzwihr. It was here, in open farmland with little cover, that German forces began their assault, setting the stage for a single stand that would soon define the battle. By the winter of 1945, Audie Murphy was already a veteran of constant combat. At just 20 years old, he had been fighting across Sicily, Italy, and France. He had been wounded more than once, promoted on the battlefield, and decorated for repeated acts of leadership under fire. Among his men, he was known for staying forward, close to danger, where decisions had to be made quickly. Murphy served with Company B, 15th Infantry Regiment, part of the 3rd Infantry Division. The division had earned a reputation for hard fighting, and Murphy had grown up with it through nearly every major campaign in southern Europe. Physically, he was small, slight in build, easy to underestimate. But by January 1945, his experience outweighed his size. The pressure on officers like Murphy was intense. American infantry units were often spread thin, holding wide frontages in freezing conditions. Replacements arrived with little training, equipment froze, weapons jammed, fatigue was constant. Murphy had already seen what happened when lines broke. On the morning of January 26, his unit was ordered to hold ground near Holtzwihr against expected German attacks. There would be no armor support nearby, little cover, few reserves. Murphy positioned his men as best he could, knowing that once the Germans came forward, withdrawal might not be possible. And when the first waves of German infantry began moving across the snow, Murphy understood that this fight would not be about maneuver, but about whether someone would stay in place long enough to stop them. That understanding would soon force a decision no officer was trained to make. The German attack begins in mid-morning. Infantry from the 2nd Mountain Division move out of the tree line in small groups, using the snow and shallow ground for cover. Mortar rounds fall around the American positions. Machine gun fire cuts across the open field. Murphy's company is hit hard. An M10 tank destroyer supporting the line takes a direct hit and bursts into flames. The crew abandons the vehicle. Thick smoke rises, visible across the field. One by one, Murphy's men are forced to pull back under the pressure. Murphy is struck by German fire. Shrapnel tears into his leg. Bullets hit his body armor and uniform. He is wounded, bleeding, but still able to move. He orders his remaining men to withdraw to the woods. They hesitate. Murphy stays. Alone near the burning vehicle, he climbs onto the M10's exposed turret and grips the .50 caliber machine gun. German infantry are now less than 100 meters away. Murphy opens fire. From the open turret, fully exposed, he sweeps the advancing German line. At the same time, he calls in U.S. artillery fire, giving his own position as the target. Shells begin to fall around him. German soldiers drop for cover. The advance slows, then it stops. For nearly an hour, Murphy continues firing, wounded and isolated, holding the line by himself while artillery crashes into the field around him. But the pressure does not fully break, yet. The German advance begins to falter. Artillery rounds land closer now. The ground shakes with each impact. Smoke and snow fill the air, cutting visibility across the field. German infantry struggle to move forward under the combined weight of machine gun fire and falling shells. Murphy remains on the burning M10. Despite his wounds, he keeps the .50 caliber firing in controlled bursts, adjusting his aim as German soldiers attempt to regroup and push forward again. Several try to flank his position. Each movement is met with fire. His radio, damaged earlier, still works intermittently. Murphy continues to correct artillery fire by sound and sight, pulling the barrage closer each time. The German attack finally breaks. Survivors begin pulling back toward the tree line. The field falls quiet except for the crackle of the burning vehicle and distant artillery. Only then does Murphy climb down. He walks, wounded and exhausted, back to his company's position in the woods. Bleeding heavily, he immediately begins reorganizing his men, placing them back into defensive positions in case the Germans return. The mission is complete. The German assault at Holtzwihr has been stopped. The line holds. Within hours, Murphy is evacuated for treatment. His injuries are serious, but not fatal. The position he defended remains in American hands. What began as a desperate stand by a single officer has now become a documented turning point in the defense of the Kalmar Pocket, one that will soon be recorded in official reports and remembered far beyond this frozen field. The immediate consequences of the fight at Holtzwihr were stark. Murphy's company had held the line, but the cost was high. Several American soldiers were killed in the engagement, and more were wounded. German reports from the 2nd Mountain Division acknowledged unexpectedly heavy resistance, noting that advancing units were delayed far longer than expected, and that the defensive fire halted the advance in key sectors. The American side counted the wounded carefully. Murphy himself had suffered multiple gunshot and shrapnel wounds, primarily to his legs and torso. Despite the severity, he remained conscious and functional long enough to call in accurate artillery fire, directing strikes onto his own position, an act that would later be cited in his Medal of Honor citation. Beyond the immediate casualties, the battle had a ripple effect. German forces attempting to penetrate the Kalmar Pocket were forced to slow their offensive. Commanders reported that the resistance, exceeded expectations, which disrupted coordination with other attacking units. In a campaign already marked by limited resources and overstretched troops, this delay proved significant. On the American side, morale was bolstered. Soldiers who had witnessed Murphy's actions described the sight of their officer firing from the burning tank destroyer as inspirational and unbelievable under fire. Witness accounts emphasized that his presence and the accuracy of the artillery turned what could have been a German breakthrough into a defensive success. The engagement at Holtzwihr, though small in the scale of the war, became emblematic of individual courage impacting larger operations. Murphy's stand prevented the Germans from exploiting an opening in the line and contributed to the eventual containment of the Holtzwihr pocket by Allied forces. In the days following the action at Holtzwihr, Audie Murphy's heroism was officially recognized. Reports from his superiors highlighted his extraordinary bravery under fire, his ability to direct artillery accurately while wounded, and his decision to remain exposed on the burning M10 tank destroyer. These actions directly prevented a German breakthrough and saved countless lives among his fellow soldiers. Murphy was soon evacuated to a field hospital. Medical staff treated multiple gunshot and shrapnel wounds to his legs, chest, and shoulder. Recovery was slow, painful, and complicated by frostbite and exhaustion. Despite this, Murphy remained focused on his unit, ensuring that the men under his command were stabilized and reassured before he fully withdrew from combat. For the American military, Murphy's stand had symbolic and tactical importance. The successful defense at Holtzwihr contributed to slowing the German offensive in Alsace, buying precious time for Allied forces to reinforce weak points along the front. Official documents noted that the Germans had overextended their attack and suffered higher than expected casualties due to the stubborn American defense. The event also marked a turning point in Murphy's personal legacy. Already decorated for previous acts of bravery, this particular engagement would lead to his receiving the Medal of Honor, the highest award for valor in the United States military. His citation specifically mentions the multiple wounds he endured, the enemy fire he faced alone, and his decision to continue fighting until the mission was accomplished. Beyond military records, the story of Murphy's stand resonated among soldiers and civilians alike. Accounts in letters, diaries, and post-war memoirs describe the psychological impact of witnessing such determination. His courage under fire became an example of leadership, selflessness, and endurance in the most extreme conditions of modern warfare. By holding the line, Murphy not only affected the immediate battle, but also reinforced the broader principle that individual action, when combined with training and resolve, could influence the outcome of larger operations. His stand at Holtzwihr would echo through military history as a defining moment of personal bravery shaping tactical success. The stand at Holtzwihr is remembered not only for its tactical impact, but for what it reveals about human courage in war. Audie Murphy, a young soldier barely out of his teens, faced overwhelming fire, wounds, and exhaustion, and yet remained steadfast in his duty. His actions demonstrate the thin line between chaos and order on the battlefield, and how one individual's resolve can tip the balance. Murphy's decision to hold his ground, direct artillery on his own position, and fire from the exposed turret of a burning tank destroyer speaks to a profound commitment to both mission and men. In that frozen French field, pain became secondary to responsibility, and fear became a tool to focus action rather than paralyze it. Historically, the incident underscores the unpredictable nature of combat. Small units, placed in dire situations, can dramatically influence the outcome of broader operations. Murphy's courage delayed the German advance, allowed American forces to stabilize their line, and contributed to the eventual containment of the Holtzwihr pocket. Yet beyond numbers and strategy, the story endures for its human resonance. It is a reminder that history is shaped not only by armies and leaders, but by the determination of individuals facing extraordinary circumstances. Holtzwihr, January 26, 1945, remains a testament to endurance, sacrifice, and the quiet, relentless courage that defines the best of humanity, even amidst the horrors of war.